So you'd be in agreement with the camp that is saying we may have seen some gains in recent days, but don't get fooled into thinking that we're through the crisis at this point?
So I think we have overcome interest rate risk and inflation risk. Mm-hmm. We've fully incorporated that. I think we are starting to understand credit risk, recession, etc. What we haven't got our arms around as a market is market functioning risk, liquidity risk. And that's the one thing I'd keep my eye on. I think that still has to play out as the Fed continues to march up with its interest rates.
But you don't think it should slow the Fed's role in terms of what they're doing with higher interest rates?
Look, I'd rather the Fed not be late. I'd rather the Fed not having to increase rates so quickly. But given that it's so late, I don't think they have a choice. I think the alternative of not reacting will be worse for the economy and will be worse for the markets long term.
We have talked about how the consumer has been really very healthy, how they've had been flush with cash. They still have the jobs market's very strong. Wages are up, even if they're not up as much as inflation. But you were tweeting about a few things last night, just some concerning trends that you're starting to see with consumers in terms of what they're doing with credit cards.
Yeah, so revolving credit is now at a record high. It's gone up by 9% in the last year, keeping up with inflation, but it's still at a record high. And what we're seeing is a segmentation of the consumer base. So while consumers in general have a strong balance sheet, while the labor market in general is strong, once you look at the composition, so if you are selling to the lower income segments of the population, you're seeing significant declines in sale. And that's what's happening, is we're seeing a segmented household sector emerging.
I mean, that's bad news for the people who are most potentially in peril. Will there be any move that comes from politics? Like, let's say when you're looking at this, if the Republicans take the House, as is anticipated at this point, not sure what's going to happen with the Senate, but what moves, if any, would Washington make to try and help those at the lowest rungs?
And you all called it evenly divided, closely divided.
That was my mistake. Yeah.
There's two views on this. There's the one view that because they're so evenly divided, they'll come together. I don't believe that. There's the other view that because they're so evenly divided, everybody will focus on the election in 2 years' time, and they won't come together. Now, the conventional wisdom is that gridlock is good for markets. But we have to understand that it depends what path you think the economy is on. In 2010, the economy was on a similar path to today, meaning that without stimulus, it was going down, but the Fed could step in and provide stimulus. This time around, the Fed cannot step in and provide stimulus. So I don't think it is good news that we're not going to get anything out of Congress for the next 2 years. I think we need to focus on a new growth model. We need to take the supply side much more seriously. And I do think there's a problem that the emphasis will immediately shift to the election in 2 years' time, and very little will get done.